We'll get started then. Episode 14 of the MEE-FIT podcast. Welcome, everybody. I'm here today with Mo, who has very kindly agreed to come onto the podcast with us today. So just remind everybody, if you don't mind, Mo, well, just introduce yourself if you don't mind, and how long you've been here with us, 'cause I can't remember off the top of my head.
I'm Mo, and I have been with MEE-FIT since September last year.
Last
year, so just over a year.
Just over a year. Cool. Fabulous. So what was going on health and fitness wise, I don't know, in the 6-12 months prior to MEE-FIT? What sort of led you to reach out to us and inquire about getting started?
So before coming to MEE-FIT, I literally did nothing. I literally just sat at my desk all day, walked the dogs when I had the energy to, and could fit it in. But generally, health and fitness wise, I didn't really do much up until about 12 months before I came to MEE-FIT. And then I had an operation in the January and really struggled to recover from that. And then started going to Hill Valley for a little bit. Did a little bit of sort of, whatever I knew to do in there. Not really a structured program, just kind of going in, using the machines, making a bit of a fool of myself. And then that was pretty much it before I came here.
Yeah, cool. Was there anything that sort of made you initially start doing something, not necessarily here, prior to that? Why did you make a start in the first place on doing anything to do with your health and fitness? Just
because, as I say, I had this operation and I really, really struggled to recover. When I sat just before I went into my operation, the guy actually said to me that because I was a little bit overweight, he didn't put it that politely, that I would really struggle to recover.
Right, okay.
And that it was harder for larger people to recover, which didn't make me feel particularly great, to be fair. But before my operation, I really struggled with sort of motivation and just tiredness all the time.
Okay.
And then hearing that, it just kind of made me go, do you know what, I just need to do something. I don't want to be feeling this way for the rest of my life.
Okay. So feeling this way, what did that feel like?
Sluggish, tired. I've got 3 children at home, 2 dogs, a sort of busy life that goes with all that. And I just felt tired all the time, wasn't sleeping very well, just generally day to day, felt like I was just kind of getting through the day. Yeah, it was a bit of a struggle.
Yeah. So thinking about that, you mentioned 3 kids, 2 dogs, work. I mean, we actually did a podcast on this recently that we're going to release soon, which was all about the lack of time and that being a big barrier for people. I mean, how did you feel about that? Did you think, I haven't got the time? Or how did you go about making time? Like, how did that work for you?
I didn't really think about the time aspect. It was more about putting myself first, I guess, more than anything. It wasn't really about the time. It was about the fact that I had all these things going on in my life, and actually I was really low on that priority list.
Yeah.
And it takes some doing to change your mindset to put yourself at the top. And I think that kind of period when I had my operation and was sort of lying in bed for 3 days struggling, that was kind of the turning point, I think, for me to go, do you know what, actually I just need to think about myself a little bit more. Yeah.
Why do you think it is so difficult? That's something we hear all the time, the priority side of things, and how maybe unintentionally mums especially do end up down the list. I don't think it's something, as far as I understand, it's not something people intentionally do, like I'm going to neglect myself because of this, but it's something that just naturally happens, and maybe that's the role of the mum, is to look after everybody else. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think a lot of it is society. I think it goes back years, doesn't it, that the wife stays at home and looks after the kids and, the family, and sort of provides for the home sort of thing. Yeah. I don't think that is the case anymore, but I think as women, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, these were the things that were really important in my life. And actually, I'm one of these people that kind of, if I can do something for somebody else, I will, especially if they're really important to me. So I think for me, naturally, it just fell into, this is what's important, this is what I have to take care of, and that's what's going to come first, and didn't really consider myself as part of that. It was just about looking after everybody else and making sure everybody else was okay. Yeah, I think it happens to a lot of people, and I don't think you really kind of realise it. You just kind of get sucked into this. Yeah. I'm a mum, I do this, and I go to baby group, and I go to the hospital appointments, and I do this and this and the other, and I've just got to take care of everything. Yeah. On top of cooking for everybody and cleaning and all that kind of stuff. You just get sucked into it. I don't think it's an intentional thing. I think you just get sucked into that mindset of, this is what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we have that as a barrier for a lot of people looking to get started. It's kind of like, how do I put this extra time in for me when I've got all these other things to deal with, the kids, the travel, traveling, mum's taxis, dad's taxis, all that type of thing, and work and the household and everything else. And how did you feel about that? How did you feel when you first started actually lifting yourself up that list of priorities and doing the things that you needed to do to be fitter and healthier? Like, how did that feel in the initial stages?
I was really guilty, to be fair.
Yeah. Because one thing we hear all the time, sorry to interrupt you, but people always say, they feel selfish doing that.
Yeah. I mean, my kids now are 15, 13 and 10, so it was a little bit easier for me to do that. And I don't think before the point that I was at, not just because of the kids' age, but because of our situation at home, that I would have been able to put myself first. And I think it was easier because they were older and because, there was less taken care of. But yeah, I still felt quite guilty and sort of for taking that time for myself and, sorry, I can't do this for you now because I'm going to go and do this myself. It's never something that's come into my mind over the, the 15 years that I've had kids. So yeah, it's a difficult one to kind of change that and think, I'm worthy of doing this. And actually it's time that I do this for me.
Yeah. And hopefully you feel good.
Yeah.
I've been doing that.
I feel so much better.
Yeah, good. In what way?
Well, I think initially, the time thing and putting yourself first, I have to say I come at 6 o'clock in the morning because it's the only time in the day that I can fit it in. And that's the only time that I can, squeeze in the time for myself where I don't actually feel guilty because my kids are still sleeping, my husband's still sleeping, the dogs are still asleep, and I get up and I sneak out and I come and I do my thing and I'm back home and I start the day. So actually I've almost carved that time out so that's easier because I don't feel guilty. But I feel so much better. Like, my sleep is one of the big things that I really struggled with. I haven't slept properly in years. When my eldest was small, she really struggled when she was first born. And I'm a really light sleeper, so any slight little noise from the kids, it's always me that wakes up. If somebody's breaking in, it's Andy. But if it's a kid thing, it's always me. Yeah. So I'm always kind of I feel like I'm sort of waiting for something to happen. So I don't feel like I've had a good sleep in years, to be fair. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I really massively noticed. Yeah. And that knock-on effect of having a good night's sleep, despite getting up at 6 or 5 in the morning to come to MEE-FIT, it just set me up for the day. I felt like I have so much better energy because I'm going to bed a little bit earlier. I'm doing a bit more exercise, so I'm not as sluggish in the evening. Whereas I used to sort of, the day would finish and I'd get the kids to bed and then I'd be sat there like, just what can I eat and what can I do to make myself just not go to bed just now, because then I feel like I've missed my day. And it just changes your whole sort of mindset, just having that little bit of extra energy from extra sleep.
Love that. So I suppose the way I view that, the message is how important it is to look after yourself and actually, prioritize yourself, if that's the right word, but actually have that time for you, because it's so important as a parent, even more so as a mum, and I know there'll be a lot of people who've considered making a change, but then that barrier of the selfishness or the guilt has kind of stopped them. Yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup is my phrase at the moment. Love that. In that I've spent the last 15 years kind of emptying my cup out, and actually it's time now that I kind of refill it a little bit. And actually my kids are benefiting from that and my husband's benefiting from that. Yeah. And I am as well, so, it's good all round. In what way do you feel the kids benefit from that? I'm not as snappy as I used to be. I think that's one of the things that they definitely notice. Like, I've never been a morning person. I hate mornings. I hate the morning school run. Like, the kids are fighting over which cereal to have and somebody's got the wrong spoon or the wrong bowl, and it's just like chaos in the mornings. And it's almost like I hate waking up because that's going to happen. And obviously they're a little bit older, they still fight a little bit over which cereal to have, but it's less stressful. And actually I'm reacting better to those grumbles and those gripes. So actually when they're having a bad morning, which they're kids at the end of the day, I'm there to support them rather than me just snapping and telling them off. Or I feel like I spent a lot of years shouting and I don't feel like I do that anymore. Whether that's just a culmination of different things happening now, I don't know, but I don't feel like I shout as much. And I think they would probably agree with that, to be fair. Good. That's awesome to hear. Yeah. Awesome to hear. Great. So just thinking back then, you mentioned about how you were at, you'd started in a gym, different type of gym to ours. What was not going wrong there, but what What wasn't working for you that made you think, actually, maybe I need a slightly different approach? I need a different type of gym?
So, I mean, I'd been at Hill Valley for years. Like, we joined there for swimming for the kids when they were little. And I'd never set foot in the gym. And when I did, we did the normal show round where we sort of got shown what to use the equipment. And there was a lovely guy there who kind of gave me a bit of a programme. And he was really great. And he set me on my way. My issue is that I just then struggled to sustain that on my own. I've never been one to just like plod away on like a piece of cardio, as you'll know from the other day. Cardio session, just, you know, I don't like cardio, and I'd find myself just ending up on the runner because I couldn't be bothered doing the other things.
Yeah.
But then when I started doing strength training in there and sort of revisited the program that I was given, I loved that. I absolutely loved it. I felt like I was getting stronger, but just didn't really know how to progress that. And being left on your own to kind of get on with it is hard. Couple that with then trying to carve out that priority time for myself. It then was slotting into, you know, I'll drop a child off there and then I'll go and do a quick half an hour. But actually, that just wasn't really working for me. And I'd end up going, oh, actually, I'm knackered now, so I'll just get in the car and go and wait in the car for another 20 minutes instead of 10, just so I didn't have to carry on doing it.
Right.
And it's that motivation thing then. So, yeah, it just didn't work for me, I think. Yeah. And I probably, you know, would have been there and carried on being there, but just, you know, going for a couple of weeks and then kind of binning off for a bit and then going back and then... And it just, I think that's how it would have continued if I hadn't looked for something else. Yeah.
Okay. So sort of like maybe you didn't have the structure that you maybe wanted. Motivation is always challenging when you're on your own and you're left to your own devices and no one knows whether you're turning up or not. And no one, you know, that side of things is always a challenge. So you thought, right, I need to maybe find something different. I can't remember off the top of my head. What actually led you here to us then?
So I saw Trish's video.
Okay.
I know Trish from a dance school that we both used to be out with the kids. And I watched her video and was like really proud of what she'd achieved. And then started looking at other testimonials. I'm not really quite believing the whole hype of, you know, what you were about and the sort of community and the small group thing and how it was going to work and how I would fit into that. I wasn't quite sure, but the more kind of videos I looked at, there was another couple of people like Kev Carlisle. I saw him and he, you know, I know him from school. All my links are through children. I just started watching the testimonials and I probably did that for about 3 or 4 months.
Okay, that's interesting.
And I went back and sort of reviewed them and it was that kind of, I was really struggling with the battle with myself as to, I really want to do this, but actually I don't think I can carve that time and priority out for myself when I've got all these other things going on. And you know, the financial aspect was also a big thing. How was I then going to approach the subject with my husband to say, look, I want to try something, this might be it, but actually I'm not sure we can fit that into our family. And then I did. I just messaged and I think he called me back and I just went, Andy, so this guy's phoned and he's going to give me a call. He messaged me, he's going to give me a call about, you know, sort of what they're all about, and I don't really know what to say. And then, of course, she called and you're very persuasive in a good way, definitely in a good way, and motivating. And sort of went to speak to him and to Andy and just said, look, and he's like, oh yeah, let's both do it. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
That was a shocker. So and then here we are. Year later. Best decision I ever made, though, to be fair. I wish I'd done it. I wish I'd not looked at the videos for 3 to 4 months beforehand, I think.
Yeah. It's important, though. I think a lot of people have that. There's always that uncertainty, isn't there? And I think as much as great as testimonial videos are, and we try and produce them as often as we can to showcase, but there's always that thought process of, that won't be me. That won't work for me, you know? And then that, of course, is true. Like we have some people who, you know what I mean? There's always going to be differences in how people respond to different things. So there's always that element of doubt, I suppose. So, but that was good. So it was mainly maybe sort of Trish's that was the...
I think Trish's was the video that made me sort of delve in a little bit more. Obviously, I'd heard about different kind of gyms in the area, but Trish's, I think, was the one because I feel like she's quite similar to me in the way she is. Yeah, and it just kind of hooked me, and
Yeah. And then eventually just something left you to think, right, I'll leave my details, and then...
I was scared when I messaged him.
Yeah.
I was really, I'm not a very confident person, really, to be fair. And I think that whole coming into a different environment is hard. Yeah. And I wasn't sure how I was going to I was going to react to that, and whether it was actually going to be as friendly as you were saying it was. And yeah, it was nerve-wracking, but I love it. I've like found my tribe.
Love that. Claire will love that, won't she? She loves that. She loves that little saying. Excellent.
And I think that's what it's about, though, isn't it? It's about, my first session was a 6 a.m. session, and I was so nervous. And even though I joined with my husband, I was doing my 6 a.m. session on my own.
Yes, yeah.
And I was so nervous. And now 6 a.m., the people at 6 a.m. is what makes me come at 6 a.m. It's not, no offense, it's not the exercise. No, it is obviously. It's about all those things. But actually, if it wasn't the group of people that's in at 6 a.m., it would be hard because you just walk in and it's instantly like, a tribe.
Yeah.
A tribe of people there to support and there to lift you up. And, if you're having a rubbish day, it's like, it's okay, well, at least you're here and let's get on. And, we have a laugh and have a joke and,
and work hard as well.
We work hard. I work hard. No, sometimes I do work hard.
You do work
Not
hard.
Not all the time.
But that's okay though, like that is okay. And I think that's something that people should probably understand more is like not every time you come in the gym are you ready to lift as much as you can. And, you're always going to have those days where it's just ticking that box and it's not a PB day or it's not I'm feeling brilliant today, but it's just I'm doing that thing.
It's about showing up, isn't it?
Showing up regularly. Absolutely. And being consistent with that is always going to be better than having an amazing gym session every now and then and smashing it, but then not going for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or what. You know what I mean? Like consistency trumps intensity every time, as long as it's consistency around, good work when you're feeling, in that way. So that's good to hear. So how soon, obviously you got started in September, how soon did you think this is the right place for me to carry on with? Like how long did it take for that kind of thought process to stick?
I would say after my first session, to be fair. I think my first session, it was an eye-opener. I think just being able to have that sort of attention and, okay, it's a small group session, but actually it's not. It's a PT session at the end of the day because, I have had other PT sessions in the past and, you're doing your exercise and they're there standing there watching you and, they're encouraging you and everything. But actually you do exactly the same thing. You're just wandering around, encouraging other people and making sure everybody else is okay as well as you. And actually that's great, and that's what makes the difference. And that's what I think makes it for me is that I can come in at 6 a.m. on a Monday morning when I really don't want to. And I look at the board and I'm like, it's deadlifting. And it's those little boosts and then you just get through it. You don't have to think about it. You're just literally told what to do from the minute you walk in the door. I don't have to think. So in my busy life that works for me. That not having to think about one thing in my whole other existence, like my brain is just mashed most of the time with everything that I need to think about. So it just makes it work. And that amongst the environment that we're in is just, it ticks a box.
Brilliant. Touched on so many really great points there, but the one thing I wanted to just highlight was the fact that you've had like the one-to-one PT before, because we've had people, I'm sure we'll have it again in the future, who've experienced one-to-one personal training. That's what they've known. That's what they're maybe looking for. When we say, look, we do like a predominantly a small group model, there's an uncertainty there because inherently people are going to think that if you're not doing it one-to-one, you're not getting as much attention and you're not getting as much coaching. And we'll set our stall out and say this, which is quite bold, but like, I don't think hardly anyone really needs one-to-one PT unless you've got a really significant injury, illness, or some form of physical issue with your capabilities and stuff. I just don't think people need it.
I don't think you do, because if you're on like so if you're doing, I think I used to do leg presses, and he was literally next to me and coaching, and saying, just put a bit more weight on, and encouraging. But actually, I'm doing the work there. He could have walked away and done something else, and actually I would have been fine for that time. I don't think it's needed. I really don't. And I think, you get the best of both worlds, because you've got the one-to-one attention, but actually you've not got someone standing over your shoulder, like watching you do the exercise, which to be fair, makes me just feel a bit uncomfortable, to be fair. I don't have a lot of confidence, and actually I don't want someone like literally eyeballing me the whole time I'm doing a press up, because I look ridiculous. Well, I feel like I do, but I don't. But it's that kind of thing. So actually having that somebody over you constantly would probably put me off, actually. So it's nice that you're kind of doing other things and there's a lot to distract you in here whilst you're, putting the effort in. And obviously with...
Yeah, and that's it. And you've got the community side of it, which you miss with the one-to-one. We used to do a lot of one-to-one PT. I used to do a lot when I first started in this industry of fitness, and I look back now and they were nice people. I enjoyed it, but the buzz of a small group setting is far better than
good atmosphere, get some good tunes on, especially when it's rock music is much better. So it's just all about the atmosphere, I think, and you've got a really good model. It's really good.
Good.
Yeah,
well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad to hear that straight away you felt that way, because like you said, you'd seen the videos, you'd seen, you kind of knew the concept somewhat, but always unsure.
Didn't quite believe it.
But thankfully it worked, and it was as friendly as you thought or hoped it would be, and what we sold it as, I suppose. So that's really, really good. So 12 months in then, obviously we spoke a little bit about this already, but what have been the main outcomes? Anything that you've not talked about so far?
I mean, if I think about what my goals were originally, was generally to not feel quite so sluggish, I don't even think I thought about the sleep side of it. It was to lose a bit of weight, to generally feel healthier. I haven't lost weight, but actually my priorities have massively shifted. So I think what I thought was important 12 months ago actually isn't actually that important now. And the benefits for those things are huge, vastly greater. So things like, just not being snappy enough, but having the energy to kind of do my day-to-day job. I don't really get the 3 o'clock lull or 2:30 lull, whenever it is. I don't really get that anymore. My mind's clearer, I think, is something that I've struggled with for years, is just, as I say, just so many things in my brain. I get really easily distracted from one thing and to another, and it's really difficult to focus on anything. And I think that's changed massively. I still get my words muddled up sometimes, as my kids find it hilariously funny. You're getting old. But I don't know, just generally a clearer mind. So I think what I thought was going to be important, i.e. I want to lose 2 stone or whatever, actually I'm not that bothered about that now. It's about all the benefits of generally just feeling healthier, more energised, not feeling like I just want to sit on the couch and eat some Ben and Jerry's of an evening, just having that kind of, almost like I've rediscovered myself again, and from being mum to being Mo. And for years that's kind of, that's priority. And now I am, I think, and actually I think that's probably the biggest thing from the last 12 months. I don't feel guilty about it now. And my kids know that this is what I do. And I go to the gym, and some days I don't feel like it, but I still go. And actually, the benefit to them is that, my kids are eating better, my kids are a little bit more active. Yeah, it's just so much better. I mean, it's instilling a positive message for them, isn't it? And I view that as a big thing as a parenting. I've got 2 little ones myself now. You view that as something that's important. Like the boys, when I wake up with them, if Shan's here, even Max now knows, he'll say car, she's gone in the car to the gym, he knows that. And Marshall obviously understands that mummy goes to the gym, and it's important for her to, I mean, he's not at that age to understand that yet, but it's instilling that's something that we do, whether it's go for a run or go to the gym or whatever it is that keeps you fit and healthy. And then it becomes normal, right? It becomes normal every day, whereas our normal, due to our life when the kids were younger, our normal was not those things. It was just passing the day and getting through the day, and that was the normal. And I think now they're older, it's obviously easier, but this is what's normal now, is that we have this busy schedule, but actually mum has that schedule as well, because she's just as important as you are, and I think that's a good message for, I agree my girls certainly is you don't forget who you are and keep pushing to be something better. Well, like you said, I mean, they're 3 girls that one of them's 15, so I don't know, 10, 15 years time or whatever, they're all going to be starting potentially that parenting journey. And if they've understood that you as a mum are still you and not just mum, then that's only hopefully going to benefit them in their future, and it's a long way off yet, but it lays so. Absolutely, but you think like that, don't you, I suppose. So that's good. So one thing I wanted to touch on a little bit that you mentioned, which is, don't need to talk about the specifics, but obviously the investment side of things, the financial side of things here. Now, we're very open with people, like what we charge isn't the lowest cost option around. There's plenty of places that people can go and find fitness cheaper than what we charge. So you mentioned that was something that you obviously have to consider. Of course, that is the case. What was your thoughts on that, and how do you feel about it now, having experienced what we actually do? Again, I think it's about priorities, isn't it? for us, the financial position that we're in, we've always looked at what we spend our money on as, what is the most important thing. So, we bought a massive house and our mortgage is massive compared to some of our friends, and that's our priority, so we haven't always been on the holidays abroad. This is what we focused on because this is what, as a couple, the family, we deem as the most priority. So I think it's about that, and I think it's about, how high up the priority list do you value your health and fitness. And, even 2 years ago, well, there's no chance I'm spending that money on myself because actually my kids are more important, so their dance recitals and, their things are way more important to spend the money on. And I think that's where the mind shift comes, is that actually I can't do these things for my family unless I invest in myself. And do I want to spend that money? Well, no, I probably don't. But actually, I need to spend that money because actually these are the benefits that I will get. And I think it's just about that, isn't it? You look at what we spend on MEE-FIT, and I don't think it's actually massively expensive considering what you're offering. A personal training session can be £30-40. Well, I get 3 of those a week, so that's already
less than it would be.
Less than it would be, exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about that. If I say this is what I need, and I think I need some personal training to be able to get me to where I want to be in 2 or 3 years' time, then I'm going to be spending way more if I get a personal trainer than what I am here. And actually, I've also got so many other benefits to that. I get extra sessions, endurance and team. I'm not a fan of team. Cardio, it's all these extra things, plus a huge, massive community of people who will lift you up when you're feeling rubbish and motivate you to come in when you're not feeling great, or just, walk in and they'll give you a hug because they can see you're having a rubbish day. And so it's not just about that. You can't put price on that one. You just can't. Absolutely. So I think for somebody who's questioning the financial side of things, give it a shot. That's why you do the trial periods, right? Give it a shot and see what benefits you get, and I guarantee that you will feel that it's more than worth it. Yeah.
It's a real stumbling block, we know, for a lot of people who've been interested before, because, when you've been used to spending however much on a gym, where your gym is, here's the kit, and it might be a room full of gym equipment, it might even be a pool and a sauna, and there's a few options locally to us that has those types of facilities. Some are a bit nicer than others, that's fine. But when that's been your gym and that's what you've been used to spending money on, it's hard to envisage, why am I spending double, if not triple, or whatever, even more, depending on where you've been. And hopefully, and like you've said, there's loads of things that we do. Of course, it's based around the fitness, but also the community, also the accountability and that side of things that actually keeps you coming in at 6 a.m. That's, I suppose, where the extra cost comes in. That's the reality of it.
I'd pay for that, to be fair, because life's hard, and I think over the last, not just few years because of COVID and everything, but for me, life's been hard. Family life has been difficult. And for me, I would pay for the community that you get at MEE-FIT because that is what helps, and that is what helps you feel like you're achieving and you're becoming your old self, is those people. It definitely isn't just about the gym sessions. It's about having the whole package. And we're quite financially well off, but we still debated it, as if we weren't, because it's about priorities. Your priority needs to be you if you want to have a, happy, healthy life. And, I want to be able to support my children. I want to be able to do all these things for them and do things as a family. And actually, for me, it's then worth putting myself at the top priority, and being able to shift things around so that we can financially afford to do this. And we both started at the same time. That's then double the amount. And actually, are we both worth it? It's a different conversation again. But yeah, we are both worth it. We're all worth it. We just need to choose to put ourselves first.
Brilliant. We spoke a lot there about priorities and all that type of thing. But I think it would help for anyone who's listening who would like to know, what's a typical week look like for you then? How many times a week do you typically come in? What have you done nutrition-wise? What's your fitness approach look like now?
What, this week or last week?
Well, no, just as an average week. There's going to be variation. But
generally, I try and, at the minimum, get 3 small group sessions in a week. Depending on evening schedules, I'll try and slot extra sessions in. So normally it would be a Monday. At the moment, I've got into a bit of a routine where I've booked myself into December for Monday, Thursday, Friday morning, and then Tuesday evening because my kid's somewhere else that I'm dropping off on away.
And that's when you do the cardio classes on Tuesday?
So I'm doing team on a Friday.
That's it,
and then
you join Kelly's little solo session.
It's quite big now.
There's I know. You've started a new trend. It's good. It's good.
Although I've only been to one recently, to be fair. But yeah, so 3 small groups, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then team on a Friday, and then ventured into cardio session on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Which was
not your favourite thing, but
not my favourite. I'm not a fan of cardio. Yeah. Because it's hard, right? It's hard, and I think, to me, cardio was always headphones on in the gym, just powering through it, or like watching, like I used to watch Grey's Anatomy while I was on the treadmill, and it's that kind of zoning out kind of thing. Yeah. So I think, going back to what I said before, it's about that kind of atmosphere. To me, I want to be chatting to people. I want to be, doing that kind of thing. So cardio is hard, but it's about just trying to fit it in, and I know that I want to achieve some extra goals over the next few months. So I'm trying to put a little bit more effort in and be a little bit more consistent. But over the 12 months, probably 3 small group and 1 team or endurance. I think is probably where I've sort of averaged at.
Cool. And then, like you've already said, 6 a.m. is your usual slot because that fits in with the family. So that's good to know. So it's most of the time, because it all, as much as we can say, you've got to prioritise. You still got to make it work. Like you can't just think like I'm going to dump the kids somewhere. You've got to find a time that works.
And some mornings 6 a.m. doesn't work. There's been quite a few sessions where I've literally had to late cancel, which I hate doing because somebody else might be on that slot. But the kids have had my youngest has had a rubbish night, or I've not slept very well, and it's just when you've got a kid next to you in bed, you don't want to be getting up at 6 a.m. So 6 a.m. is hard, I think, to be able to keep that consistency. But now I've also got Kelly going, where are you? If I'm not here. So that kind of also works. But I think you just need to get into a routine, and it goes back to the don't rely on motivation, rely on routine more than anything, because then you're just up and it's just that moment of getting out of bed. So once I'm literally out of bed, then it's fine. Then it's just that literally pulling the blanket back, and once I'm up, it's fine. I'm up, and I might as well go now.
In the weather as it's gone darker and colder, hasn't it?
Well, but I actually find that easier though, to be fair, because I started in September, so I started on 6 a.m. and all through the winter I was 6 a.m. and that was what I did. So it was dark, so it's just getting back to how it was when I started originally.
Got you.
I actually find it harder in the summer, I think. Maybe I stayed up later, I don't know, I don't know, but I find it probably harder over the summer, but it's just kids.
Kids off school
it's kind of
and all that type of thing,
but it's, you definitely need to just rely on routine, motivation.
It's difficult though, like I don't do many 6 a.m. now because Shan typically comes at 6, she'll either train or coach at 6 when we need to coach, and there's been a few times recently, like this morning, where it's been me to come at 6, and because I'm not in the routine of it, I'm like, God, it's hard. But the thing that gets me out of bed more than anything else is the thought of not going and Shan judging me and saying, giving me loads of grief.
Or going, if you didn't go, I could have gone.
Absolutely. Like the guilt with that, I'm like, right. So this morning it was like alarm at 5. I was like, oh, but.
And you just got to do whatever it takes to get you that first step out of bed, and then it's good, isn't it? I don't think I could do more like afternoon sessions at all. I think by the end of the day, I'm done. I don't want to be thinking about that. I want to eat my dinner. I want to run the kids around. I don't want to run the kids around, but evenings are busy for us. And the only way I can fit evening sessions in is on the way to somewhere else, which sometimes works and it's perfect. But I need to just switch off for it. I've done it for the day. I don't need to think about it. I get home at like sort of 7. I have a quick cup of tea. I've got my little routine. I have a quick cup of tea, and then I'll go and wake up my smallest one. My big 2 are already up, and and then it's the day, and it's almost like I've not been. It's only later on when I start feeling the aches from the session that I realise that actually I've been. So it's good to just forget about it.
Absolutely. And I think that's the mindset I think most of our clients who come at that time have. It's just get that done early doors.
Tick the box.
Tick that box. You're done. You don't have to. There's some clients here who train in the evenings. That works for them. They prefer the extra hour in bed. Cool. It's about finding what works for you, isn't it? And just touching on what you said there about the routine and how sometimes things get in the way. I think another thing that I would look at there is how not to view that as a barrier. Life isn't perfect, and I think lots of people they'd think to themselves, I can't start because I might have this happen or I might have that happen, but life life happens, doesn't it? Like kids get sick, you go on holiday, you have breaks, you have injuries, you have all these things, but you can't let that get in the way of actually being consistent as best as you can. And if you think to yourself, oh, well, I can't do that because what if I miss a session because of my kids and all that? Like, it's probably going to happen. It's probably going to happen again to you or to me in the next month. You know, it is what it is.
But it's about then just, you know, if something comes up that you've got a few hours notice, so I think it's 6 hours. You can cancel and still rebook. So that actually, you know, if somebody's got like parents evening that I've forgotten about and, you know, I'd booked for my Tuesday session, then I just cancel it and I just rebook it. And it's about having that discipline to cancel and rebook, not just to cancel. I think is a thing. So life's busy for all of us. And you know, we're only gonna be able to like make this time for ourselves if we actually focus on making the time for ourselves. And I think, it's hard, but you just got to do it, and you've just got to, you know, if you want to get to this point, you've got to put the effort in. Yeah, absolutely. No matter how big or small that effort is, you've just got to do it. Well,
you mentioned there some sort of aspirations, some other goals. I mean, are you happy to share anything?
I don't know how realistic they are, but
no, go on.
I don't know. I mean, for me, like obviously, I'm at the moment in the point where I want to lose some weight, and you know I've spent the last year with that not originally being the focus, but then very quickly not being focused.
Well, you've enjoyed all those other benefits, but then maybe massively. Now it's like, well, actually, these are now all happened, but now let's address what was the initial thing. Because there's nothing wrong with wanting, you know, there's almost like a stigma now about that, sometimes negative, like, oh, you know, but it's still okay to want to do that, you know?
So, totally. Yeah. So I think that's where I am at the moment, is that I'd really like to drop a good few kilos. Yeah. But I think the reason for that is because I want to be stronger and I want to be able to, like, you know, I want to do what Em's doing on deadlifts. I look at Em and that's what I want to do. I want to be able to lift what she's lifting. Whether I'm going to be able to do that at whatever age I am, who knows? But you know, I want to be able to feel better about myself and get stronger. So that's my kind of goal. My goal when I first started, as far as lifting, was that I wanted to be able to lift my own body weight. Now there's two ways to approach that, isn't there? You can either lose the weight, so that actually you don't have to lift as much, or you can get stronger. Or a bit of both. And I still want to lift the weight that I was when I first joined MEE-FIT. So that's still a goal, and I'm not massively far off that. Yeah.
When you say lift, you mean in deadlift predominantly?
Just anything, like deadlift, or I'd like to be able to do a pull-up. You know, I would like to be able to do that on the rack rather than just being able to do it on a thing. And I can't even do it on there, to be fair. But, you know, it's all about progress, isn't it? And I think the things that I've enjoyed doing over the last year in the gym are things that I then want to excel at. Like I want to have bigger arm. I've always been rubbish at upper body strength, and I want to be better at that. I am better at that already. I know that because I'm stronger than I was when I first started. But it's just all around lose a bit of weight and then build on how strong I am. I want to be able to, you know, I back squatted my 10-year-old when I first started, about a month after I started, and I was well chuffed with myself. I only did it once or twice. So I'd like to do that again. I mean, she's obviously, you know, a little bit older now, a little bit heavy now. So I don't know, it's those kind of things, isn't it? Look what I can do. I can back squat.
Potty trick.
They love it, right? Yeah. So just that kind of stuff. Just want to be stronger. Want to be able to sleep even better than I do now. Because that goes up and down. You know, things happen. Life's busy. We've had a lot of things going on this last 12 months which have had a big impact on how I feel mentally, emotionally, physically, and it's kind of just trying to readdress those things, I think. So that's probably the more initial goal, is to try and feel a bit more better in myself from the things that have happened this year, but then build on losing weight, building strength.
Well, you've got us to try and help you with that, and we'll dial in the nutrition side of things a little bit and whatnot. So I've got two final questions for you. They're quite similar, but they're slightly different. Okay. The first one is, we always try and end with a bit of a summary message from the guest. So the first one is, what would be your message to someone who, I'm not thinking about MEE-FIT here, I'm thinking about just generally making a start with their health and fitness, wherever they decide to do it. Not specifically here, just generally. What would be your message to maybe someone similar to yourself, maybe a mum or a parent who hasn't prioritized themselves, who hasn't been able to make that step towards being fitter and healthier and hasn't made that step yet? What would your message be to that person who's feeling maybe how you were, maybe sluggish, lacking in energy, etc., and wants to make a positive change, but is struggling to to do that, what would be your message to them?
To a mum, fill up your own cup. You can't fill up everybody else's unless you fill your own. I think that's literally what I would say. There's so many demands on parents, and I think mums especially, to be the perfect mother and the perfect wife and provider of all things homely. You can't do that unless you look after yourself. You have to prioritise yourself to be able to benefit your children, your family. Fill up your own cup.
Perfect. And then following on from that, similar sort of question, but what would be your message to someone if they were considering getting started here with us? Maybe like you, they'd seen some testimonials, maybe they know someone, but they're not quite sure whether it's the right thing for them.
I mean, you're never going to be sure if it's the right thing until you give it a go. Just walk through the door, pick up the phone, make that call, send that Facebook message. Because actually, once you get speaking to Dan, you'll know. I think you'll know that it's something worth exploring, and you don't have to carry on with it. But you never know unless you try. And I think you just have to walk through the door and see what MEE-FIT's about, and find your tribe, because that's what it is, tribe.
Love it. Love it. We're going to finish up there, Mo.
Thanks.
Appreciate your time. Honestly, I've loved listening to that. That's been fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you to anyone who has listened, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we will see you again in the next episode.